to, if anything, be ourselves and be proud of it. But here's the problem. Adam and Eve, when they are naked and unashamed, man, that is a redeemed state. That is not the state we are in. We actually have all kinds of things to be ashamed of. I'm sorry to tell you. There's all kinds of reasons why we are afraid to open up to people. And they're pretty good reasons. And so it's dangerous for us to open up to our spouses. But this kind of brings me to the dual mandate of marriage. And it was really cool last week because I got to look my friends in the eye and say, marriage has this double mandate, to be creative and to be redemptive. And here's what I mean by that. Marriage is creative because here's two people coming together, two separate worlds converging, and all of a sudden you're creating a home together, you're creating a family together, you're creating this whole common life, over the period of 20, 30, 50 years, you're creating a whole wealth of memories, a life together. And that is a creative process. And when we're creative, we're mirroring the creativity of God. We're taking all the things He's created and we're working with them like an artist. We're artists of our lives. And here's the thing, though. The second thing, that marriage should be redemptive, this is actually more important. This is actually more relevant to us. Remember those fears and insecurities, unrealistic expectations? Those are the things that need to be healed in us. Those are signs of our brokenness. And this is kind of amazing, but you have the opportunity as a spouse, not only the opportunity, the mandate as a spouse to try to redeem the other spouse, to redeem the broken things with God's help, but to help heal their insecurities. Now, this is how it normally goes, though, is that, let's say that I know that when my wife is upset about something, that what she needs is my loving, caring support. Loving, caring words, gestures. But I happen to be kind of insecure about the fact that she's not strong enough because I really value being strong in different situations or something. And so I don't want to do that. I want her to, for lack of a better term, man up. And so maybe I don't give her that affirmation. But then again, maybe I'm thinking about these things, and I do. I decide to go out on a limb and love her in the way she needs to be loved. And maybe I'm doing this for a while. More likely, maybe she's doing it to me, and she's loving me despite my insecurities, and at some point, this pernicious thought enters that loving person's brain. What if I'm being taken advantage of? What if I'm being too generous? What if my love is just being used? They're just taking it in and not giving anything back. What if that's happening? And if you let that thought get a hold of you, you're just going to stop the whole project, this whole loving project. And the thing is, if you get to that point where you think you might be being taken advantage of, you are probably right on the brink of healing something. in your spouse. I mean, if you are to that point, you are so close to actually accomplishing something that could change your relationship, can change your lives as a couple for the rest of your life. And so I want to encourage you to resist that thought that your love would be taken advantage of, because one thing. There's this book called Life Together by a guy named Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Maybe you've read it. One of the things he says in there, he's talking about Christian community in general, not just about marriage. But he says, man, isn't it better to be wronged than to be right? Isn't that better? Because if we are strong enough to accept wrong and love in return so that other people can be healed, man, that is better than being right. And we need to get a hold of that, especially when you're thinking, man, I've been too generous with my spouse lately. I've been letting too many things slide with my spouse. Like, I've just been carrying way too much slack. Maybe you're just on the brink of accomplishing something really beautiful in your relationship. So, the possibility that you could heal your spouse. This is good. The possibility that you could heal your spouse, that you could love them in that way, and not just your spouse, actually. It's really all of your relationships, anybody who you're loving. The possibility that you could help heal somebody of their brokenness. When we do that, our love for them becomes a sign of God's love in the world. Okay, so if you are building your marriage over years and years, and you are helping each other overcome these, issues that you got in like 3rd grade on the playground and you got made fun of. When you are helping people overcome their brokenness, you are actually fulfilling your Christian vocation in the world, to be a witness of the love of God to the world. And it would be a beautiful thing if people came into this church and saw all of these wonderful families here and thought, wow, like, they are loving in a different way. They don't seem to be passive-aggressive with each other. They don't seem to be always on their guard. Their kids are joyful around them. For the kids here, man, wouldn't it be great if your parents were loving each other in such a way that they were overcoming their insecurities? Wouldn't that be amazing? I think it would be amazing. It would be great for you and your whole household. There are actually two other stories in the Bible about marriage as a sign of God's love. One of them is about the prophet Hosea. And what happens with Hosea, I think this is super cool, is God says to Hosea, go and get a wife who's a prostitute. Hosea goes, gets a prostitute for a wife, brings her home, they have some kids, and then she leaves him to be a prostitute again. And God says to Hosea, go and buy her back. And since she wouldn't live with you freely, have her live with you as a prostitute, as your wife. And that was supposed to be a sign to Israel of God's love for them, what it was like to love Israel. The second story that's really amazing about marriage being a sign in the Bible is at the very end. It's the wedding supper of the Lamb, it's called. And there's this idea that at the end of history, I don't know what you think is coming, but at the end of history, Christ is going to have a wedding feast, and he's going to be the groom, and the church is going to be the bride. His love for us is like the love of a husband and wife. And so when our love mirrors his, when we have that perfect love that drives out fear, we are witnesses to who he is. And that is a glorious possibility. I hope that all of you are able to take that to heart. And, you know, sometimes we just need a vision of what's possible to hold up in front of us and remember and work towards. And so the glorious possibility is that your marriage could heal, you could be healing each other from your brokenness, and that would be a sign, a witness to God's love in the world. Fulfilling your Christian vocation, that's why we're here. Adam and Eve were supposed to help each other in the work God had for them, and the work God has for us is being witnesses in the world. So we have to help each other do that. Be thinking about that as you look for a spouse, if you're not married, that what you really need is somebody who's going to help you get over yourself, your brokenness, and do God's work in the world. So just to review, we talked about three things. We talked about fit, that when we need to remember that when we got married to them, we thought they were the one, and they were. Remember that. They are. And we talked about pitfalls, about the insecurities, the fears, the expectations that so easily derail us that we bring into our marriage, and that we have to, learn to be honest with ourselves about. And then the possibility that our love could heal those things and be a witness to God's love in the world. I have one more story. This actually has kind of more to do with the fit part. But, I was meeting with my friend before he got married, and, we would talk about marriage and stuff. And, it was really obvious why this friend of mine was marrying this girl. It made complete sense that they were together. Total sense. It was just like same vision of life, similar personalities, the whole deal. But I asked my friend, does it make sense to you why I'm married to Amy? Because I know, it makes sense to me, but I don't always think other people see it that way. And so I was kind of expecting him to say, well, actually, I never quite understood that one. But he was able to say a whole bunch of things, give me a whole bunch of reasons why it made sense to him that we were married, and that was really cool. And, I'd encourage you guys maybe to do that with some friends who know you well. Hey, does it make sense why we're together? Because it's easy for us to not be able to see clearly our own relationship. And like Pastor Paul said last week, we need community to help us evaluate our relationships. Now with that, I just want to close and encourage you one more time to remember that it's possible for your relationship to be really glorious with your spouse, to really fulfill what God wants from you in this life. Don't get pessimistic on me. I don't like pessimism or cynicism. So with that, let me pray for us.